Good to see you too, Catherine. It's been a while. Okay, well, hello everyone, and welcome to this joint educational webinar for GTA partners and Sea Alliance members. And we have Andy Hickman with us today, who leads the Sea Alliance program. And I know that there is quite an overlap between Sea Alliance members and GTA partners as well. So Andy and I are very keen to do as much collaboration as we can to avoid duplication and redundancy. Last year, GTA Partners had access to a series of educational webinars, and for this topic, we are collaborating because we share the aims and objectives around social responsibility. And in today's webinar, we're going to hear about Ulula, a digital human rights due diligence platform. Leveraging mobile phones, Ulula can connect organizations with their stakeholders through two-way comms to gather anonymous and continuous insights anywhere, anytime, and provides visualization of the data in real time on interactive dashboards. Now, I've seen an overview of this from Agnes, and it's really, really interesting. And speaking of Agnes, Agnes Pondavan will explain how the technology empowers anonymous real-time communications with supply chains to reduce risk, respond to challenges, and exceed compliance requirements. And through this, it can advance working conditions around the world. The webinar is being recorded and it will be made available afterwards. It'll be on the GTA website. I'll send a copy to Andy so Andy can circulate to Sea Alliance partners as well. If I could ask you to keep your microphones on mute if you're not speaking, just to avoid feedback or background issues like my grandfather clock that's going off at the minute, that would be wonderful. We do want to hear from you. There will be plenty of time for questions at the end. So if you've got anything, please feel free to either use the chat box. I'll be managing the chat on behalf of Agnes, so we can do that at the end, or you can just do it the old-fashioned way and shout out once we've wrapped up. A couple of people have joined during my introduction, so thank you for joining us. Welcome, and I'm delighted to introduce Agnes.
Thanks, Tom, for the introduction and the proposition to introduce Ulula to a GTA and ACA Alliance member. So I'm going to share my screen, and I hope you will understand everything. Okay. So yeah, so I'm going to introduce Ulula. So Ulula is a social tech Canadian-based company, certified B Corp from last year. And today, company embarking on the journey of socially responsible sourcing in their operation are facing one very simple question. Do we have all tools and processing in place to really identify risk and mitigate this risk? So I will share with you how Ulula can be part of this tool. So first, I was really happy going through the GTA 5 years strategy. I saw one of your pillars, social responsibility, zooming on ensuring socially responsible seafood supply chains. So definitely Ulula can be will be online with your strategy and on the outcomes, because there is the need to effectively manage human rights risk through due diligence processes and proactive action. So I will just give you a bit of context. So the legal context, there is a national due diligence law emerging all around the world, in Europe, but also in Australia and in US. And as soon as we are selling to this country, we have to be compliant with the regulation. The human rights challenges, there is some global trends. We are living in a connected world with connected workers. Not all the workers will have access to a smartphone, or will have access to a computer or a tablet, but most of the people will have access to a phone. It will include traditional phone and smartphone. Today, when you are doing a site visit or an audit, you can look at the labor right, but sometimes it will not be enough, because you are going to see what is happening on a D-Day, but you will not have a full view about what is happening on the vessel or on the processing factory. What we have learned from the COVID-19 is that When you have a crisis, you have also an increase of the risk of critical human rights violation. And we saw also that across the global supply chain, you have an increase of the inequality. For example, if you look about the overtime, we know from our survey and data that the most impacted population will be men, but it will be also the migrant worker. So it will be targeting mainly the men and the migrant worker. So you can really have an action plan that is dedicated to the population. And as it was really difficult to go on site, there is a really major disruption of traditional human rights protection and controls. And through innovation and digital tools, we can have a bigger view about what is happening on the vessel or the processing factory. So Ulula is a digital stakeholder engagement tool that collects and analyze data. And with this information, you can measure, monitor, and improve your impact on the global supply chain. Our solutions are continuous, meaning that it's not a call center. You're going to have information, data, 24 hours, 7 days per week. It's totally anonymous, but it's both way, meaning that if a crew member wants to send a feedback, the information will be totally anonymous on the platform, but the person who is going to handle the case on the platform, if they want to ask some information to the crew member, the grievant, it will be also anonymous on this way until the grievant is agreed to share the contact information. Is multi-channel, because as I was saying before, it's really important to be as much as possible inclusive. So meaning that we can work on offline, so on traditional phone, but we can work also on a smartphone, but we can work on offline and online channel, including the app, but including also specific apps such as WhatsApp, or it may be Zalo, for example, in Vietnam, is the preferred app used in Vietnam. It's multi-language because we know that there is a lot of nationality working on different companies, and you will feel safer by using your own language to raise a concern. So it will build the trust between the technology and the crew member or the worker. And we are using chatbots really to engage directly the communication with the people, and will give some information and filtering and sorting the information. So we already listened to 1.6 million of people in more than 40 countries. So we work in really different kind of countries where there is a low connectivity or also a difficulty because of violence. And we have more than 50 languages that is currently available on the tools. We work in all cross sectors. We work in agriculture, in fishing, in food production, manufacturing, etc. And we do have already the experience with some retailer on the production side also, on the alliance, and also some partner on fair trade or fair labor association. So we are really partnering and working on the global supply chain. So now I'm going to explain to you what do we have for the digital solution. So all the solution working offline and online on mobile, any language, anywhere. So we have the automated survey. So the survey is really like we are co-designing together a survey that it can be based on the international standard, but it can be also your own survey that you really want to set up. So we can create together the questionnaire and send the question to the worker. The worker will reply directly to the question on their mobile phone, and on the different questions that you can have survey on well-being, on the living wage, on safety. You can really build together different kind of survey. You can use the survey in a different way. You can use it in addition of your audit system. For example, you can do it before the audit to really analyze what is the highest risk. to make sure that when you are going to do your site visit or your site audit, you are really going to go a bit deeper on the risk that you already identified. You can do it during the audit, because when you are doing an audit, sometimes it's really frustrating because you don't have time to do too many interviews. So you will interview some worker or some crew member, but it's never enough. So by doing some survey, and maybe during the week of the audit, you will collect more information. Or you can do it also after an audit, because for example, on the follow-up action plan after the audit, you need to set up a gender-based policy. The idea is that maybe you can send a survey on the boat or on the processing facility to ensure that the gender policy has been well set up, it's well known, and that is really well implemented on the ground, on the sea. The map broadcast, as soon as the communication channel is well set up with the worker, you can also send them some information. So this is really important, because when you are doing a survey, you are going to collect some information. And I think it's really important to be able to close the loop, to have a feedback loop to the worker, and really to be able to say, okay, we understand your concern and we are going to work on it. So you can send them some information. You can send them also some alerts or some information, such as if there is a training coming, or if there is a change on the regulation. I know that, for example, in Philippines and in Indonesia, some of the private sector lead the vaccination program of the COVID-19. So it's also a way to engage the communication with the worker, to say, oh, maybe in the coming weeks, we are going to set up a vaccination program. You have the grievance management system. So it's going to manage and collaborate. It's collaborative grievance management system, meaning that it's totally anonymous. So it's two-way communication and it's collaborative. But I will show you a bit deeper about the grievance management system later on. If you are using the app, you can also download some resources and training on the app. And all this information will go through the platform, and you will have analytics dashboard that will provide you real-time insight in labor condition and issue. So multi-channel real-time stakeholder engagements. So on the left side, you can see what will be the crew member experience or the worker experience in the processing plants. So yeah, it can work on the traditional phone or on the smartphone. What will happen is that you are going to get much more data that you get before, because you are going to give the access to the communication for a really long time. So it will be much more than what you can have currently doing your site audit or your site visit. The quality of the information that you're going to collect will be a bit more qualitative, because people they will feel safer in front of their mobile phone, maybe even not in their workplace, but in their home, to raise their concern. Because sometimes when the grievance management system, it can be a bit not so efficient, because you will not feel safe to use the communication channel, because you will be always in your workplace. There will be your manager who will be around, or some of your colleagues, and you will not feel safer. So the quality of the information. Yeah, sorry. No. So I continue. So yeah, the quality of the data will be much more qualitative. Third point, that you will not have any human interference between the grievance and the dashboard, or between the crew member information and the platform. There is no bias of interpretation about the data. And last one, it will be much more efficient, because you're going to have the information in real time. So you're not going to wait the information, because when you have information about forced labor or child labor, you cannot wait any day. So yeah, so this is for the crew member experience or the worker experience. And on the right side, you can see what look like the dashboard of the platform. just to show you about the whole app. So it's open worker line. As you can see, so the crew member or the worker on the processing plant, they may have access to the survey module, the grievance management module, and they also have the one square that is called news that can give you some information, and you can also have one part about the training. So you can have also so it's this kind of information. As you see, the design of the app is really light. It's really done in purpose to make sure that the crew member or the worker is going to keep it on their phone, and also that the data, it will be also really low to not use too much bandwidth when they will send back the information. So how do we work? How we connect? So the success of this tool is really to engage with the worker and the crew member. So when first, or you have a list about the crew member, so you can already provide some phone number, but sometimes you will not have the same SIM card. They will change their phone number, or you will have also some number that was not on your list. So we are really going to engage all the stakeholders by sharing some poster or cards. For example, we have done some project that we put the information with the payslip to make sure that everyone is going to have the information. And when people is using their phone, they will be automatically catched by the system, or if they will scan the QR code or use the number, it will be also automatically catched by the system. So yeah, it's totally anonymous and is working everywhere. So now just to share with you what you're gonna see. So this is the dashboard. So it will allow you to have the global view about what is happening around the company or the fleet. So you have the different area, and what you can see on the right side that we will ask for the survey or the grievance some demographic information, just for asking, for example, for the gender, male or female, the age, if they are migrant or non-migrant. We can even make some precision about the migrant worker, if it's really like migrant coming from another country or migrant coming from another county. And after all this information will help to really define an action plan and identify clearly where is the risk. But we will not ask too many questions, because if we ask too many questions, it will not be anonymous anymore. So we have to be careful about it. So it will be the site level analytics dashboard. So by site or by location, you can have a view about what is happening and what kind of information you will collect. So you can have information based on the gender, the migrant or non-migrant, and after you can have information about the participation, for example, about the survey. If you have launched a survey, you can see what will be the participation, or if you want really to focus on some cluster, you can have the information for working conditions, social dialogue, anti-discrimination. You can really tailor-made your dashboard. And now let me zoom on two modules. One will be the grievance, and after I will focus on the survey. So the grievance, so it's direct and anonymous, 24 hours, 7 days per week. It's a case management tool, meaning that you will collect all the information on it. It's going to record all the different steps that you are going to do for your investigation, and remediation will be also accessible on this tool. And also it will support all your communication directly with the grievance. So you can set up the grievance when he's going to send his feedback. He will also set up urgency rate, meaning that, for example, the number one will be that he do not understand his pay slip. And maybe number one is that it will be like, yeah, there is some delay in the salary payments. Number two will be maybe that, okay, it's already 3 months that have been delayed about a week every month. So we can escalate also the grievance. And at the end, if you have an issue about harassment or underage labor, you can put it like number 4 or number 5. When we are going to build together this grievance mechanism, what is really important is that it's really a collaborative tool, meaning that the collaboration can be between the production sites, but it can be also with the retailer sites. The retailer can be also part of the grievance mechanism module. And depending of the urgency, we can set up the grievance protocol and ensure who is going to have access to which level of urgency. So if you are the case manager and you see that you have several grievances coming from and raising the same concern, you can link the grievance together. For example, what can happen is that you have some worker who they have an issue about the recruitment fees, and you identify that this worker is coming from the same recruitment agency. So you can do it on only one case and make sure that you are going to close the loop. You have the possibility with this tool to engage directly the conversation with the grievance. For the grievance mechanism module, it's really important to understand that the priority will be the reactivity. So you have automatic translation with Google Translation. For example, if you have a worker who is going to send a grievance in Bahasa, so if you send the grievance in Bahasa, when you will receive, you are the case manager on the platform, when you will receive it, you can also read it in English. And if you want to ask other detailed information, you can type your question in English and it will be automatically translated in Bahasa. So it's really like a two-way communication and auto-translation. You can engage the case manager of the platform, can engage directly the communication with the grievance. So you can use the platform to send an SMS or to send a WhatsApp, or you can even call the grievance. The grievance is going to receive an SMS or is going to receive a phone call, but is not going to see your number. So until he's okay to share the contact information and disclose his identity, it will still keep totally anonymous. As I was saying, like you can add some team member to do a grievance management really in a collaborative way. So yeah, it's anonymous, multi-language, automatic translation, a bit of automatization, because as you see, there is this Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 is leading by the chatbots. So for the first question, you will have, are you male or female? Where do you work? So you will have the different facilities. What are you concerned about? So is health and safety, payroll, respect, underage worker order. So it will lead to different questions, and it will help after to support and to filter the question. And at the end, you will have an open question that the grievance can really share all these concerns. The question, it's really co-designed with the Ulula team, the program team that can really support in designing the full protocol. Yeah, so this is the grievance. So now I'm going on the survey. So the survey design and creation. So we do have already 250 questions that is available in our system that we can share in all the different languages. So you can have this question in the different languages that is available. What is really important for the survey is that we are not going to use automatic translation. We are going to use really official translator, local translator, because as for the grievance, the priority was on the reactivity. For the survey, as we are going to send the question to thousands and thousands of people, we have really to make sure that there is no bias of interpretation within the question. So you can have the question in different languages, And as I was sharing before, that when we have the offline channel, we also have the ability to do the question by IVR. So it's really audio question recording, and to make sure that the people who have a really low literacy rate may also have, will be also included in the grievance management system. And as they are most of the vulnerable people, they may have also access to the grievance mechanism. So I think now it's quite clear for you. So why be socially proactive and not reactive? I saw that it's totally in line with the strategy of GTA. First, it will secure the markets. There is HRDD regulation that is coming from everywhere and redefining the trade rules, including some potential import bans. And after, for your own company, definitely it will improve your operational efficiency. You are going to monitor, and you will increase the worker satisfaction. You can reduce the turnover, social conflict, health and safety risk. And at the end, you will differentiate yourself because you will have credible social and labor indicator. You will have the data, you can decrease the reputational risk and create also opportunity to communicate credible and timely data to investor and consumer. So at the end, why Ulula? Because Ulula, we work on any phone. We can work on the app, but we are also adapted to all kind of phone and in their preferred language. We manage the anonymity. So respected and sensitive information is securely stored. Content and analytics is developed and co-designed based on your need. There is an online onboarding with training and ongoing support in the adapted language. We have the onboarding material. This is what I was sharing before about the poster and the leaflets in all the adapted languages. And Ulula, we do have on the ground representative and partner with the capacity and report to effectively implement the worker voice program. So yeah, I would like to take the opportunity of this webinar also to introduce a collaboration between Ulula and OSA. So with the OSA seafood expertise and Ulula with the digital expertise, we are working to develop an Asia Pacific pilot project related to tailor the Ulula worker engagement platform to seafood sector. So this collaboration will let crew and worker to speak up confidentially and safely. And we are really going to listen to the worker voice and not just listening to the representative of the worker. So it will allow a proactive, responsible civic sector company to easily hear the worker voice and work on the different workplace. And also OSA can provide responsible sourcing accountability assessments. So now I will zoom a bit on our Asia Pacific pilot program. So the idea is really to use the worker phone to go directly to the crew member aboard the fishing vessel. We can also work with the worker in the processing plant. So we would like to use the anonymous survey, the grievance mechanism, really to complete, that will be completed by the crew member without access to internet or cell reception. And when it will be online, we can have the information. So there is three main solutions. The survey, so it may be deployed on the different vessels. So it's maybe aligned with the international fishing standards and to measure the human rights compliance and labor condition. So all this information will be collected and available on the dashboard. And one of the ideas is that we can do the survey before boarding and at the outboarding, and it can give you also an idea about before and after. And the idea also to do the survey before going on board is to make sure that they are aware about the grievance tool or all the new tools that will be available on board. So the second solution will be the grievance. So it's, yeah, as I was saying, anonymously, two-way communication, auto-translation, and really a collaborative resolution and records. And the idea of also about to use the broadcast solution is that I know that a lot of crew members, they're spending a lot of time on the vessel. So also it's good to use the broadcast that we can send some information to the crew member about new regulation, notification, or even just a feedback about the different survey that we have made on. So currently on our pilots, we have identified, so there is Ulula and OSA, and from the production, we have Austral Fishery and FIA from Papua New Guinea also always gonna join our project. We are also having some discussion with MSC to explore the possibility of MSC to join this program. So this is my last slide that I would like to invite Marcelo Hidalgo, that is one of our partners, also to give you a word about this Asia Pacific pilots. So Marcelo.
Yes, well, yeah. I hope everybody can hear me. Good evening from Papua New Guinea. Well, thank you, Agnes, for a really nice presentation. What I can say on behalf of the Fishing Industry Association of Papua New Guinea, for us to join to these pilots is like a game changer, I have to say. We have several programs, several tools for assessing people on board, auditing, and now certification schemes. But Ulula goes a little bit beyond and provide that space for grievance mechanism and worker voice, which are the core of our operation, the people working on board. So in our case, we have 5 fishing companies in our group, 48 tuna perceiners, and we decided to join these pilots to assess the worker voice tool to see how this is going to benefit both worker and also the fishing company operation. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think Tom has shared on the chat a link that you can access to it, and you can register yourself, and I can send you later on some information about how the program is going on. And because currently on our Asia Pacific pilot project, we have the production, we have the digital expert, we have the seafood expert, but if there is some other part of the supply chain you want to join the pilot, you are most welcome. So yeah, if you have any question.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Agnes and Marcelo, for your intervention as well. That's lots of information there. Just to remind you that it has been recorded, and Agnes is going to share the slides with me, so I will circulate that to everyone, so you will have access to that. We've got 25 minutes. We don't have to use all of them, of course. I know everyone is very busy, and I know it's late for Agnes, but we really would welcome any questions we have. So I will open it up. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to use the chat box if you'd like, or just shout them out, whatever's best. Amber, you're first up. Amber from New England Seafoods.
Hi, Agnes. Thank you so much for that presentation. It was really useful. I guess this might be quite difficult to answer, but do you have any indications of cost that you can sort of share with the group? You know, rough costs of implementing a survey, whether you're able to say, you know, a survey that targets 50 crew costs roughly between this and this. If it's in 1 language, 2 language, and it targets 100 crew, it's going to cost this. Any kind of you know, experience on that would be really useful.
I will not give you exactly the cost now, but I'm going to explain to you how we manage our pricing, because it will give you this kind of information. You will have first the subscription to the platform cost. That means that access to the dashboard and about all the the maintenance of the information. And this will be based on the number of country, number of sites, number of languages, and number of person who is going to access to the dashboard and the platform. Okay, so this is one first cost. And after you will have the license investments, meaning that it depends, because it's kind of pick and choose, because you can choose that, okay, I want to do only a survey. Okay, so, but if you want to do the survey, maybe you are going to say, okay, I want to do one survey in the year, I want to do 2, 3, 4 surveys. So it will depend, and all this cost will be managed according to the number of surveys you are going to do within the year. After, if you want to set up the grievance, it will be a price per month, and it will be also depending the number of sites. It will not be based on the number of crew member. It will be based on the number of sites. So it will be based on the vessel. But if there is different approach, if you have a vessel and so we call it that we can already identify the crew member, this is okay. So this, it will be a price per site. But if you are working more as a landscape project, for example, I know that there is some octopus from Mauritania that it will be on one area. You can do a landscape and targeting a number of people. So it's different approach. You have also different price based on the communication channel that you're gonna use. If you are using the app, it will be mainly using the web. But if you really want to include also some people who don't have access to or using the traditional phone, it will be also a different communication channel that you need to include. So it's difficult, it's really difficult for me to share to you the price of one survey, because it will depend about country, language, number of sites, what kind of communication channel you're going to use. But we will be really happy to build together that a pilot, or to see what is the area, everything.
Yeah, thank you. And just to follow up on that, so would there ever be a cost incurred to the actual fisher? So if they were texting back from their phone?
No, it's free.
Okay.
Yeah, and even for the grievance, sometimes when you have a phone number, so they can call the number and the number is going to call them back. It's really important that it's going to be free, because if it's not free, the people is not going to use it. And also there is some company that they are supporting also some incentive for the worker to participate for the survey. So it can be like additional credit for their phone or something like that. That it's some incentive that can be provided also to the people to really to engage them in the system.
Good, Amber.
Thank you, Amber.
Thanks.
Great. Andy.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks so much, Agnes and Marcelo. Really, really informative. A couple of questions. So the first one is whether you've got any case studies of where Ulula has been used in conjunction with worker representation, either worker committees or trade unions, so that the information is able to be used by those organizations or by workers themselves to drive continuous improvement in working conditions. That was the first question. And then the second one was just about in the fishing sector, how you're managing the workers opting into the initiative, because I get in a large manufacturing site, you could do lots of work to make sure that the information about Ulula is visible and there's QR codes, etc. But I just wondered with the fishing sector and the fact that vessels are obviously operating offshore, how do you incentivize workers to engage in the scheme and opt in to participate?
I already forgot the first question. So to answer first the second question. So what the added value of Ulula also is to have some partner on the ground really like to make sure that when we are going to do the onboarding session, it can be also a part of the training of the people before going on board. In fact, that's why we are saying like the survey can be done at the time of the onboarding to really ensure that they know about the process and what is going to be set up. And so this is to use the solution of the survey before going on board to make sure that they are aware. And the second thing is we are partnering also with some team in the different country to make sure that they can be also on site if needed on that day to make sure that in the local language they can really communicate with the crew. And after we are really working at a partnership with the production, and because as soon as the production site, will understand that they're gonna have less conflict, less loss of turnover of people. As soon as they understand that they will be really proactive and will get the information before a crisis, they will really support and make sure that the efficiency and the information is well transmitted. We have done before a project with Fair Trade USA, and the idea was to see with the fishermen how they're going to use the fair trade premiums. So the idea was to share the survey when the fishermen were getting their premium or were getting their pay slip. So it was a way to connect with the fishermen or the crew. And yeah, can you just resume a bit the first question?
I popped it in the chat, but I can say it again. I was trying to save you from having to hear my voice any longer. No, it was just the question about whether Ulula has been used in conjunction with worker representation, so either worker committees or trade unions.
In fact, in fact, for the when we are talking about the grievance management, when we said that it's collaborative, in fact, that the labor union and the labor representative can be part of the collaborative management. So in fact, that when I was saying that you can have some issue that can be difficult to be managed directly by the company or the manager or the captain. So it will be more on the labor union or labor representative who can deal with this part. So it's really inclusive case management.
Yeah, Agnes, if you allow me to complement the second question and this second question. Regarding the use of the app crew members offshore when they are in high seas, let's say. Well, I think that is one of the aim to discover any gap and challenge in this pilot. In the case of our FIA PNG fleet, we have Wi-Fi on board. Of course, it's not always available, but that is the beauty of Ulula app. It's working offline. So, and we are expecting that this is going to work properly in the EE zone of PNG where our fleet is fishing. And from there, we can recognize any gap.
Thanks both.
That's super. Thank you very much. Josh from Worldwise Foods.
Hello, thank you for your presentations. They were great. It's just to, I guess, follow on a little bit to Andy's comment and Marcello a little.
You're on mute, Josh.
On mute, sorry. I'm off mute. Thank you. I was going to say thanks for the presentation. It was great. And it's a little bit to follow on from Andy and maybe more to Marcello a little bit because you piloted this, was what's the awareness of what Ulula are trying to do right down at the ground level? Do fishermen really understand what Ulula is about prior to joining the scheme, so their awareness of it before they opt into it, if that makes sense? Because I think that's part of your buying, isn't it? You've got to really understand what it's about before you want to opt in.
In fact, what I was saying to Andy is that it's really important really to engage and to build the trust with the people who is going to use the solution. So sometimes when you only set up the grievance management the mechanism, the grievance tool, it's good, but you have to make sure that people is aware about it and they are going to use it and they have a good channel to use it. So we know that to make a survey before using the grievance mechanism, it's quite useful because they are really going to build the trust, because they will see that we will ask several questions and they will have no impact personally on them. So they will say, okay, so it's totally anonymous and I don't have a personal impact directly about my feedback that I raised before. What we can do also with the grievance management system is, because on the app or even without the app, the combination of the grievance and the survey, it's really useful, because you can do the survey before, but you can also push a survey maybe after 3 months, just to make sure that they are aware, but they didn't forget, or are they satisfied with the grievance system. So, you can really just send a gentle reminder about what is, how is working, how is the system.
Okay, and I guess I've just got one more question, sorry, and this may be more related to Tom. So Tom, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. Sorry. There's a lot of people on the call that I can see. I recognize a few names. A lot of us are from certain industries or manufacturing plants or retailers. I guess, is there any engagement with at government level and RFMOs for fishermen in those regions to say, how do they support? Have we got any backing from there? Because I think this is industry led quite a lot, but actually it's going to have to be on the ground, and maybe more with RFMOs and governments as well backing this as well. Have we got any of that engagement, or is it all from me?
I think it's a very good question. I think the market are leading, but there's also efforts underway. WCPFC has a proposal tabled this year that we are supporting for trying to improve social responsibility. But certainly for tuna RFMOs, I would say this is not necessarily a priority for them. It should be, but they can't even manage the fisheries. So yeah, it's a lot of it's getting the airtime. GTA is also advocating for ILO 188, so ratifications and implementations of that, and the Cape Town Agreement as well. So there is elements of it. In terms of a coherent approach to it, a lot of it is driven by the market, just because of I guess the complete difficulty in a lot of the production countries. It's the market destination countries, with things like the Modern Slavery Act, the regulations in the US that are kind of driving this. But Marcelo, do you want to jump in there?
Yes, thank you, Tom. It's just to make a comment to Yoxana. In Papua New Guinea, the FIA Association is engaging the National Fishery Authority, which is the government representative and the coastal management of the fisheries. So for us, as private sector, we want to engage at least the government of Papua New Guinea, because as Tom said, the Commission is a little bit slow in these topics. So we have prepared a joint workshop to talk also about this topic and see if they want to embark in this type of improvement in pilots. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and Catherine has just put a link to that labour standards proposal, which is great. Thank you, Catherine. So that's very helpful.
Yeah, WCPFC is the only one with a resolution, Jotsana. But it's a couple of years old now, and it's certainly politically fraught trying to progress it.
Yeah.
We're hopeful that putting the market behind it can at least add some momentum. Well, I'm not suggesting for a minute that we will change the landscape, but we can add our weight to it. We have another hand up from Prad at Thai Union.
Hi, thank you so much for the interesting presentation. I would love to hear a bit more about how you think about this, using this platform on the issue of ethical recruitment. So not used only on the vessels, but to look at the risk from the first mile.
In fact, this is the added value also of Ulula, that we can work with, I would say, that identified site. That I was saying before, that if you have the different site that is really identified, you can already target some dedicated population. But before that, you can work also on a landscape base, that you can target an area that what you can put, for example, information about the grievance, just to ensure that people is aware about what is within the law according the recruitment and everything. So it's a possibility also to engage before boarding. Is it what you mean, Fran?
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any other questions? That was a good load of questions there.
I just want to add one more thing to Pratt, is that Ulula technology, as is not using only the application, we can work also on traditional phone, and this is really useful because if you are working in a landscape mode, meaning that you didn't identify the people, maybe the technology of the people, it may be like maybe the traditional phone. So it's really important to have both technology available. Because with the app, it's maybe easier when you are on the vessel to say, okay, all the crew members will have to download the app. But if you are not in this kind of situation and more in the landscape, it's better to have all the channels will be open.
Thank you for the information.
Any other final questions? No, well, that was, I will say this, Agnes, that is a lot of questions for the webinars. I would say that's certainly one of the most popular in terms of questions, so that's fantastic.
But I'm happy that we have the time to add the question. And
yeah, no, very much so.
That's good.
So I will say a big thank you very much for joining our joint webinar, and a special thank you to Agnes for presenting. I think you did a super job with some very technical content. If you do have any feedback, or if you have any questions you'd rather ask offline, please do not hesitate to contact me or Andy. We can certainly put you in touch with Agnes. And don't forget that there is that link I put in the chat. It's scroll. I will see if I can just put it in one more time. So if you do like to get more information, you can register via that link. The slides will be circulated and the recording will be circulated as well. So thank you very much indeed, Agnes, and thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you very much. Have a good day and have a good evening.
Thanks, Agnes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.